Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday. So we're in the middle of the week. We got one more day of markets, and I believe on Good Friday the markets will be closed. So we'll take a look at what's going on here with them right now. Bitcoin was up just barely today. Ethereum did a lot better. Markets were kind of mixed today. Miners for the most part were down today. We'll take a look at it. I think only one of them was up today. And then we got some other stories that we need to talk about, which we have Ralph Lauren partners with BitBay to accept Bitcoin in Miami. So we got that going on. We also have Microstrategy buying more Bitcoin. I mean, this guy's on a shopping spree. Then we got Bit Digital announced their March production updates along with CORZQ, Hut 8, and Riot. So we have all that to talk about. And as always, there are going to be chapters down on the bottom for you guys to skip to the things that you want to get into. And as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Do your own research. And I'm investing in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. So let's get into the markets here really quick while we're at it. And here we go. So markets today, S&P was down 0.25% to 4,090. Dow Jones was up 0.24% to 33,482. NASDAQ was down 1.01% to 12,967. Bitcoin was, I mean, you can see here that on the day it kind of finished out in the red, it looks like here. It was down 0.02. It looked like it was going to possibly squeak out a tiny win for a green day, but it didn't. So it's down right now on the day 0.02%. Right now, it's kind of flat. It switched over to the new day right now. So Bitcoin was down 4.27 on the day. It closed at 28,175. We did try battling with our resistance here today, or actually last night into this morning. We battled with it a couple of times here. Let's take a look at the 1 hour chart. And you can see here that we battled with it last night, right around the time when I was recording the video of the last one. And then we did it again here in the morning hours at 7 o'clock. We tried it again. We failed. So we have multiple failed attempts right now of getting above the 28,600 mark with a close above it. We haven't done that yet. Each time that we do touch it, the more times we touch it, the more likelihood that we are either to fall below it or fall in price in general, or than it is for us to go above it. The only good thing that I can see here on it right now is, well, I mean, there's not really much. I mean, when we're looking at the RSI, when it tried to peak above the 28,600 line, we can see that the RSI was actually higher in the last attempt here. It was a little bit lower in the most recent attempt, but the prior to that was higher. So I'm kind of in no man's land right now as far as which direction does Bitcoin really want to go. The way I'm seeing it right now, though, I still think that we are possibly going to be going down a little bit more before everything is said and done, possibly to our 200 weekly moving average, which is now at like 26,000, I believe. So that wouldn't be too much of a drop from where we are right now. It'd be about $2,000. And then possibly we get a nice little reversal after that with a nice run up beyond 28,000 to going up to 30,000 possibly. Okay, so that's kind of what we got going on with Bitcoin right now. Let's take a look at Ethereum really quick. Ethereum was actually up today. So Ethereum is doing much better than Bitcoin is in the last couple of days. It's up another 2% today on the day. It's up, it closed today at 1,908. It's down a little bit now to 1,905. So not too bad. And we can see here that the RSI on the daily is at 65. Go back here, price was lower, price is now higher. So that's a good sign for us in the daily. Looking at the 4 hour, we did peak a little bit here on the RSI at 74. We came back down and price is just a little bit lower where it was back then. But if we just go back several hours back, we can see that the price at that point was lower at about 1865. We are at 1900 right now, so that's still looking pretty good. And on the 1 hour chart, we can see that the RSI is at 52. Last time we were back here at 52, price was lower just a little bit at 1897, somewhere around there, so a couple dollars lower. So it's still looking a little bit better than Bitcoin is right now. We'll see if this trend continues. We're kind of getting the opposite happening in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin's coming down a little bit, Ethereum's going up. Kind of strange, but this could be also because there's, I believe, going to be a update to the Ethereum network, which should make it easier for people to get access to their coins, tokens, things like that. So I wonder if this is the reason why it's pumping a little bit right now, okay? So that's it for that one. Let's take a look at the miners here, see how the miners did today. Miners, like I said, for the most part, were down for all of them except for one. And NA was down today 1.69% to 34 cents. Argo was also down 2.85% to $1.54. Bit Digital was down 4.55% to $1.47. Bitfarms was down 2.85% to 90 cents. Cypher was down 3.45% to 224. CleanSpark was down 6.04% to $2.49. Full disclosure, I did buy some more CleanSpark shares today. I'm doing all the math on them, and I can't figure out for the life of me why they're so undervalued right now. So I keep buying more. Okay, that's just full disclosure there. CORZQ was actually one that was up 4.5% today to 32.5 cents. DigiHouse was down 1.32% to $1.49. DMG was down 3.48% to 22 cents. Greenidge was down 5.7% to 41 cents. Hive was down 4.24% to 316. HUT was down 6.18% to $1.67. Iris Energy was down 4.12% to $2.79. Mara was down 6.82% to $7.93. Mawson was down 4.42% to $2.81. Riot was down 4.29% to $9.15. Soluna was down 3.77 to 25 cents. Stronghold was down 0.5 to 67 cents. And finally, TerraWolf was down 2.05% to 93 cents. So for whatever reason, Bitcoin was kind of flat today a little bit, but the miners definitely got pounded today. Don't know why, but we'll keep an eye on it, okay? So that's the Bitcoin miners, markets, and Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let's take a look at the network hash rate, see what's happening there with it. Let's get this refreshed here really quick, and we are at right now 331 million terahashes on the 7-day average, and on the 1 day, if we take a look at that one, we can see that we're still at the same spot as we were yesterday. We haven't updated yet. It's 377 million still, okay? So that's it. Let's take a look at the stories that we do have here. And the first story we'll do, a relatively quick one, is Ralph Lauren. So they partnered with BitPay to accept Bitcoin payments at new Miami store. This is one of those stories where we have adoption. This is good. Right? We want more places to accept Bitcoin for us to interact with it and for it to become possibly more of a payment system than a store of value, which right now it's more like gold's digital gold store of value. But the more we get interactions going forward, I think that'll drive adoption and the price of Bitcoin as well. So famous American fashion brand Ralph Lauren has partnered with BitPay to accept Bitcoin payments at its new Miami Design District store. This will be the first retail store of the brand to accept Bitcoin payments. Customers can pay for all the brand's distinctive styles directly from their preferred wallets. Refunds will also be provided in the same cryptocurrency used for purchase while being equal to the dollar amount of the product being returned. So if you bought something for, just say, 1 Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes up in value, but the product hasn't gone up in value, well, you're going to get less than 1 Bitcoin. But on the other hand, it could also be true if Bitcoin goes down in price, you could possibly end up getting more Bitcoin because the price of Bitcoin went down, okay? Something to be mindful of when purchasing things like that. And down here, in addition, Ibex Mercado, the Bitcoin payments processing company, has onboarded 85 merchants in Miami following a merchant trial conducted at Bitcoin 2022. This was their conference. The options for Bitcoin usage are only beginning to be recognized, as the decision to accept Bitcoin by Ralph Lauren highlights. So this is still the early stages in Miami there, but they have onboarded 85 merchants, so that's kind of exciting there as well. So we do have adoption happening, which is great to see, okay? Next here is Microstrategy. So Microstrategy buys another 1,045 Bitcoin for 23.9 million. The company now holds 140,000 Bitcoin worth about 4 billion. And I mean, they just keep on buying it. So that's always great for us. There's less in markets for people to buy, to exchange and things like that. They also hold it for a long time. So that's good for us, I think. So the latest purchase brings the company's Bitcoin holdings up to approximately 140,000, worth roughly 4 billion at the current price of 28,500. The overall average price on those holdings is 29,803. So they are still underwater a little bit, but just a little bit here. But not bad compared to where they were when Bitcoin was at 15,000. That was definitely scary for them, I'm guessing. On March 27, MicroStrategy disclosed the purchase of 6,455 Bitcoin for 161 million in the previous 5 weeks. So they've been continually buying here. At that time, the company has also said it paid off what was left of its 205 million loan from failed Silvergate Bank. So that's good there. MicroStrategy was higher in the pre-market alongside Bitcoin, which was up a little bit overnight, but then it kind of fell down a little bit on that one. So both of those stories are really good for us. Adoption, MicroStrategy continuing to buy, hodl it. That's always great there. And those are all good things, okay? So let's get into the miners here, see how they did for March here. And we do have obviously 4 of these guys that reported here. And so Bit Digital announces monthly production update for March. Here's the highlights of it. In March 2023, the company earned 119.4 Bitcoin. That's a 10% increase from the prior month. And they had, let's see here, 12,938 Bitcoin miners representing 1.25 exahash were actively hashing. And then treasury holdings of BTC were 724, and then Ethereum is 9,136.2. and see if there's anything else. Yep, the company had cash and cash equivalents of 27.9 million as of March 31st, 2023, which is great. But it would have been nice to see them also use that capital a little bit to buy miners that have really come down in price, especially like the S19s, 122 terahash miners, or even the 110 terahash miners. Those have come down way in price, and with Bitcoin price being where they are right now, it's really good ROI and investment, I think. So it would have been nice to see them buying and growing their hash rate instead of holding cash, which is actually losing money for them right now because of inflation. Okay, so let's take a look at the numbers I have for them, and we'll get into all the details here. So BitDigital has 82.4 million shares outstanding. Their stock price is $1.47. Market cap is 121 million right now, and their current hash rate is 1.25 roughly. Future hash rate is going to be about 2.8, but I think a lot of those miners are going to be sold, exchanged, whatever you want to call it. They have a lot of older miners here that are the 63 terahash, 59, which are already gone, I believe. But they still have a lot of these over here that I think are going to be possibly getting rid of and going forward, if not already. It looks like we got rid of most of them. It looks like here we have a couple here just running to get them to the 2.5 exahash. Okay. Production wise, we can see here that they peaked in October of last year at 152 Bitcoins. Then they went down to 144, 130, 134, up a little bit, down again to 108, and now up to 119. So they have been trajectorying down a little bit here. Their BTC per exahash efficiency peaked also in August, it looks like. And they've come down here quite a bit here since then. September was 104, October 112, November 104, December 105, and January 107, and then February 83, and then March is above average right now. It's at 95.47. The other miners that are operating for the full month for every day, for the most part, are around 80 something. So something's off a little bit here. I can't figure out why, and I'll show you guys in a little bit here what I mean. Okay, and, let's take a look at the production here. So they made about 2.9, almost $3 million in revenue, which is good because they only made 2.5 in February. But here's the tricky part of it. They reported 2.5 exahash here, or 1.25 exahash for March. I have all the miners that they had before. Actually, I took out these miners here because I had them at 1.3, is what I believe they reported at the end of February. So I took those miners out, got them back down to 1.25. So those were these miners here, the 63 terahash miners. And everything here is set to run 31 days. That didn't get me anywhere near where I needed to be. If I cut this out, I was only at 2.8. I needed to be at 2.99 roughly in revenue. The only way I could get there was to add actually $190,000 to their revenue here. And I don't know if it's just a calculation error on their part or I got something wrong here, but it seems like they made more Bitcoin, unless they were really, really lucky with their production here, that they actually made more than they should have. Okay, that's kind of what I'm trying to say, about 190,000 more than they should have on this. That's why their efficiency is way up there, because it doesn't make sense. Everybody else that we've tracked so far this past week for March production has come in within my numbers here. They're the only ones that the numbers for whatever reason don't work for them, okay? So that's what happened with the numbers here on it. As far as institutions are concerned, we did have a little bit of an increase here. So 64 institutions from 63. Shares also went up a little bit by 10,000 to 14.09 million compared to 14.08. And then percentage owned went up just a little bit as well, 17.09 from 17.07. Now, the good thing is we have another rating, it looks like, on them from analysts. So now we have 2 buy ratings from them compared to 1 the month prior. And the price targets actually went up to $3 for the high, $2.50 for the average, and $2 for the low on them right now. Okay, they do have a HODL position as well, which is 724 Bitcoins. That's valued at roughly 20.4 million. And they sold, it looks like, about 91 Bitcoins in the month of March for value of 2.2, almost 2.3 million in proceeds from that. Now, based on my numbers here, this is kind of where I'm looking at them possibly being at. I probably should dial them down a little bit because they're not growing that much. They've been kind of stuck here at the 1.2 something, 1.3 exahash. You can see here that their hash rate in September looks like October was the highest. No, November was the highest. 1.377 is what they basically reported on that. And then since then, they've been kind of coming down here a little bit, going up and down. So it's kind of hard to figure out where they are right now. But They have been stuck around this range for the past 6 months now, 7 months roughly. 6 months, 7 months. So that's not good. They're not really growing. They don't have any news out that they're going to be growing even further as far as their exahash is concerned. So we could possibly drop them down to a P of 10 potentially right now, which would get us to between $1.93 and $2.90. And that's based on the current quarter that we're in, which is an estimate, the fourth quarter, which is an estimate as well, because we haven't received their financial results yet. And then we're using the actual numbers for Q3 and Q2 for that to come up with approximately 31.8 million in revenue for the last 4 quarters, or including this one. 50% net income, looking at, like I said, $1.93. 75% net income, looking at $2.90. So that's kind of in line with where the analysts are looking at as well. And that's kind of where I would see them right now, unless we hear something good from them as far as growth-wise. Okay, so let me know what you guys think of Bit Digital. Are you guys invested in them and not? And that's it. Otherwise, like I said, for all of these guys, they really need to grow, especially with the network hash rate increasing every single month, it seems like now. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's take a look at our next one here, which is going to be on CORZQ. CORZQ is going to be sweet and easy as well. They didn't provide a lot of information, which is kind of nice and kind of bad at the same time. It would have been nice to kind of see how other things are working. But here's what we got on Core. So self-mining is what we're really interested in. Their self-mining operations produced 1,410 Bitcoins. They have about 155,000 Bitcoin miners, accounting for approximately 75% of its total numbers of miners, representing a total potential self-mining hash rate of 16.1 exahash. They are still the top dog here, but not for long. Marathon is definitely knocking on their back here a little bit, getting close to where they are with the next couple months here, it looks like. Okay, so they might be booted out of the top spot here, and maybe by the end of the second quarter here. Okay, let's take a look at the numbers we do have for them as far as what they got going on. And let's see here, CORZQ. So CORZQ has about 368 million shares out. Stock price is at 33 cents right now. Market cap is way down. They're 121 million right now. Current hash rate 6.1. Future, they were supposed to get about to 17.2, but I think they possibly sold off some machines or returned some machines as well. That's why we have them at 17.2. HODL, they don't HODL anything. They've been selling like crazy ever since beginning of last summer. Pretty much everything that they mined has been being sold off to, well, fund operations and pay off debt and everything else. So as we see their production here for Bitcoin, it has really been, more than likely has been going really steadily since April. I mean, you could even go back to January of last year, potentially. You can see that their number has, for the most part, been on an upward trajectory. They did peak here in January at 1,527 Bitcoin. Came down a little bit in February. February was a month with less days than 28 days, but they're back up a little bit here in March as well to 1,410. But if they're not going to be growing as well, that number is going to start dwindling down each month as the network hash rate increases as well. And then you can see also their Bitcoin efficiency here, BTC per exahash, did really peak here in April, possibly even back in January. And it has been trending downwards ever since then. Excuse me. February was a pretty good month for them, or January was a pretty good month, 89 along with December, but you can see that trend going downwards. That's going to continue with the network hash rate. We're going to see this in all the miners. Right? It's going to become more expensive for the miners to mine the Bitcoins. It's going to become also less generated unless they are actually growing. So one of the things that I'm looking for is miners that are continually growing, at least quarterly growing a little bit, if not quite a bit there. Okay. Let's see here. So with what they mined for the month of March, it looks like they brought in about 35.4 million. Like I said, they sold everything that was the 35.4 million as well. That is definitely helping them out here. In November, they only mined about 24 million in revenue from that, along with, let's see, what is this? November and December were their lowest months here. It looks like Bitcoin definitely took a plunge at that time. Okay, so no change in miners, I don't believe we had here in March. Everything pretty much stayed the same here. We did take out some miners that they said that they were down lower. They were at 16.7 exahash in February. They report now 16.1. So either those miners are broken or have been returned or sold. Not sure. They didn't provide any of that information. Now, as far as institutions are concerned, so institutions did decrease a little bit here, not much, to 114 from 115. Shares also decreased a little bit to 46.15 million compared to 46.29 million. Percentage owned went down a little bit as well at 12.32% from 12.36%. We still have the same 4 hold ratings from analysts. Price targets are still the same, 50 cents for the high, 38 for the average, 25 for the low. So that's not too bad. I mean, they're kind of right around that range anyways. Right now, they're about 33, 34 cents. And here's where I have them. If it wasn't for the bankruptcy, I would have them at much higher prices based on how much they're producing. Based on the last current quarter that we're in, previous quarter is an estimate as well. I haven't seen the results for that one yet. And then we have the prior quarters as well. The Q3 and Q2 are actual numbers on those. And we have them at 362 million. So they are generating a lot on Bitcoin revenues. 50% net income would be at $9.82. I have them at PE of 20 because they are generating so much. We could drop them down a little bit here because they're not really growing that much. But if Bitcoin price goes up in value, this is definitely going to help them out. So I see them at $7.36, potentially to $11.04 if they can get themselves out of this bankruptcy that they're in right now. Okay, they've grew really quickly here in 2022. You can see that they started out the year with, let me see, where were they at? They were hash rate. Oh, minor difficulty, hash rate. Where's hash rate? There it is. They started at 8.2, and they basically doubled in almost a year here to 16.1. If you look at March they were 18.9. They're at 16, so they almost doubled that hash rate, and that's a lot to double. That's a lot of machines to get installed in that time frame. So they've done a fantastic job, but they just overburdened themselves, it seems like, with all the debt that they took on to grow to this size right now. So they are where they are. Hopefully they can get out of debt here and out of bankruptcy. That would be great for them. And let me know what you guys thought of them, okay? Next is going to be Hut 8 here. Hut 8 has also been kind of trending downwards. Stock price isn't really reflecting it. It has a little bit here, but I don't think enough to warrant the price that they are currently getting for it. I think the only thing that's helping them right now is the HODL position. They do have a large HODL position, which I think is what is contributing to the stock price being at where it's at. Otherwise, I think it would have been much lower than where it is right now. Okay, and then they've had issues in the past 6 months that they're trying to deal with, and I'll maybe go into that a little bit here, but here are their highlights right now. So production highlights for March 2023, 131 Bitcoins were generated, resulting in an average production rate of approximately 4.2 Bitcoins per day. 240 Bitcoin of all those produced in February and part of March were sold in March 2023. So they have started selling their HODL position as well. Total Bitcoin balance held in reserve as of March 31st is 9,133. Installed ASIC hash rate capacity at our Alberta facilities was 2.6 exahash at the end of the month. HOT produced 50.38 BTC per exahash efficiency in March. That's on the low end here, obviously, compared to some of the other guys. A couple other things to notice is they talk about the difficulty raise increasing over month, which was about 10.67, which is why they're down about 10% on production. Other highlights. So they began remediation testing at our Drumheller, Alberta site, which continues to be a high priority. Remediation, that's usually when there's a contamination, chemical or something like that. I'm not sure what's going on there. If anybody knows on that one, let me know. Or point me to an article that talks about this. I haven't heard anything about that, so this is kind of interesting for me. And then, let's see here, down here, while we met key operational milestones in Medicine Hat in March, we continue to be laser focused on 2 things, said Jimmy Leverton, CEO of Hut 8. The entire management team is committed to both remediating the challenges at our Drumheller site, right? So it's kind of interesting there, and closing the transaction with USBTC, which remains on track. So if you're all for that USBTC transaction, it's looking like it's on track. You're going to be happy about that. I'm not too thrilled about it right now. Don't have enough details on USBTC to see if it is actually a merger of equals for both these guys. It seems like Hut 8 is rescuing USBTC, which, if that's the case, they should be discounted more than Hut 8 is right now. Okay, that's kind of my thoughts on that one. Let's take a look at the numbers that I do have for them. And let's see here, Hut 8 is right there. Okay, so Hut 8 has 234 million shares outstanding. Stock price is $1.67. Market cap is at 390 million right now, which is higher than some of the other companies that have a much higher hash rate and are hashing more and are actually growing. Hut 8, as you can see with their production here, we'll take a look at it here shortly, has been actually coming down here. Current hash rate of about 2.6 exahash. Future hash rate is supposed to be about 3.2. They do have that facility where they shut off the miners because of a dispute with their electrical provider. Those have been moving to Medicine Hat, I believe, so they're trying to get those installed as well. that's kind of where they are right now. So 78% operational, 26% growth. BTC HODL is 9,113. That's valued at about 256 million right now. I think a lot of that value in their market cap is their HODL position, and that's what's really rescuing there. If you take that out, they would be down to, what would that be? 140 million, which I think is more in line with what their actual production is like right now. Okay, BTC production here. So best month was for them in August. In August, they were still mining Bitcoin and Ethereum at that time. September is when, right around the 13th or the 14th of September is when Ethereum went to proof of stake. That cut a lot of their revenue out. October, you can see, was at 299. Then November, they just kept going down, 238. December was 161, which is, I believe, when November, December timeframe is when their North-based facility, I think it was, that had the dispute with the electricity provider, and that was shut off, basically, the electricity to them, and that's why you saw that big drop. January was a pretty good month for them, 188. February coming down, 156. March coming down again to 131. So not a good trend going forward here for them. They got to get things turned around. BTC per exahash efficiency, you can see here that their best month was in August, 125.81. They fell sharply here in September, 90.2, then went up a little bit in October to 97.37, and then they went down to 72, which was below kind of the average mark where everybody was before that. December was 64, January 75, so that was a pretty good increase there. But then February and March, they've been continuing to come down. I think the average right now is around 80 to 80 some for some of the other miners that are really well run and efficient. So they're way below that where they should be on that one. Okay, let's see here. As far as revenue is concerned, so 131 Bitcoins generated them about 3.2, 3.3 million in revenue. They did mine actually more in February with the month being shorter with 3.6. And the best month here recently has been probably, in this year, it was January, 3.8, but they've been coming down here each month after that. And, excuse me, I do have them selling about 240 Bitcoin, it looks like. Based on what they reported in February, they sold them 188, and then in March, 240 for a total of, it seems like, 422, and they only reported, what did they report selling? Oh, let's see, where was it? 240 produced in February and part of March. Were sold in March. So I have them actually selling more than that based on where they are actually right now with their HODL position. Okay? Excuse me. So that's their HODL there. As far as their production here is concerned, let's see here, March for the miners, we did install these 93 terahash miners here to get them up to the 2.6 exahash that they are at, and also bringing the price a little bit better. But here's the other part of it here. They were actually mining for only 17.5 days in March compared to 19.69 days in February. That's concerning. Not sure what's going on there, that they're basically shutting down for almost half the month compared to other miners as well. So if they were able to mine for the full month, they would have possibly gotten a lot better, almost probably close to 300 Bitcoin if they were at, let me see, I mean, Bitcoin's at 100, yeah, so pretty close to 300. They would have been maybe around 250, something like that, but definitely a lot better than where they are right now. So that's concerning there. Okay, and institutions. So here's what we got. A little bit of a decrease here, 166 from 167. And then shares went down a little bit as well to 20.82 million from 20.9 million. Percentage owned went down to 9.43 from 9.46. And then we also have, it looks like one analyst dropped them. So we have one strong buy rating, one buy rating, and two hold ratings, where before we had three hold ratings on them. And then price targets also came down to $3.72 for the high, $2.11 for the average, and $1.12 for the low on that one. Based on what I'm looking at here, on their revenues here, I have them between $2.34 and $3.51 right now. And that's kind of where I think they should be. They're $1.67, so I think they're still undervalued. A lot of the miners are even more undervalued than they are. But based on what they're mining and what they're generating, this is kind of where I see them right now. Given that, well, this is backwards looking. If we're forward looking, the concern is obviously that they're generating less and less Bitcoin each month, so that's concerning. They're also selling Bitcoin that they hodled, which is, for me, that's fine, but for some of you, it might be a little concerning. And then the merger with USBTC, just a lot of unknowns there on that one. So that's a little concerning there as well. Right now, I'd really love to see them buying more miners, buying more facilities, growing. They have the stack to do it. They're not doing it, which I think is a mistake, because we do have the halving event happening in 1 year. And if they're not growing, they're going to be generating less and less Bitcoin. The only thing that can possibly save them is their HODL position in Bitcoin going way up in price. Okay, so that's it for Hot 8. Let's take a look at our last one here, which is going to be Riot. Riot has had a fantastic month as well. So right now, this is their 2023 production and operation updates. And here's what we got from them. The bullet points: Riot produced 695 Bitcoins, an increase of approximately 36% as compared to March 2022, production of 511. So that's good there. Riot held approximately 7,072 Bitcoin as of March 31st. All of them produced by their self-mining operations. Riot sold 675 Bitcoins, generating net proceeds of approximately 16.7 million. And then Riot had a deployed fleet of 94,176 miners with a hash rate capacity of 10.5 exahash per second as of March 31st, 2023. They don't provide any information as far as any of their immersion cooled miners, and if they were able to increase hash rate on those at all. We don't have that information, so we're waiting on that as well. And this number also excludes excuse me, the 17,040 miners that are offline as a result of damage to Building G from the severe winter weather in late December in Texas. I'm surprised that they really haven't gotten this resolved, fixed yet. It's been, well, 3 months now that they've had to replace, repair, whatever they had to do to those things. I don't know what extensive damage they've had, but if it was pipes, things like that, I don't know. Maybe they're waiting on components or something like that. That could be the case, but still, 3 months is a long time. So that's the only bad thing I could say on this. Okay, and I think, oh, here it is. Estimated hash rate growth. So due to the ongoing impact of the damage incurred to buildings F and G during the severe winter storms in Texas in late December, Riot now anticipates achieving a total self-mining hash rate capacity of 12.5 exahash in the second half of 2023. So second half of 2023. So now we're looking into, I thought it was second half. So now we're looking into Q3 and Q4 potentially, which is definitely down the road here. So there's definitely something major going on with buildings F and G, because those are the ones that had the damage to them. Okay, so that's not good there. But hopefully they get this resolved relatively quickly here. Okay, let's take a look at the numbers that I have for Riot. And let's see here. Oh, and as always, you guys know this. Spreadsheets are always available with my Patreon members. Thank you to everyone there for their continued support. They get all the updates. Whenever I update these, they will get like almost, sometimes there's like daily updates on these. Okay, and it's only $4 a month. So if you want to get all this data, you can sign up there. Okay, less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. All right, so here's what we got for Riot. Riot has 166.9 million shares outstanding. Stock price is at $9.15. Market cap is $1.5 billion. They are the top dog here. Marathon, I believe, is in second place right now with about $1.4 billion. And their current hash rate is 10.5 exahash. Future hash rate 12.5. They are 83% operational. Hash rate growth is 19.7. And let me see here. 7,072 Bitcoin hodled right now, which is about 200 million roughly. Almost 200 million. It's 199 million. Market or hodl to market cap ratio is 13.03%, and then one share has $1.19 of hodl position in it right now as well. Now, BTC production, you can see here that in April they had a pretty good month of last year of 508. Then they kind of were going down a little bit here towards the summer months where they did a lot more curtailing for ERCOT. And after the summer, going into September, October, you can see that that started to kind of increase as well. Plus their hash rate increased during that time as well. And they peaked in January at 740 Bitcoins. Came down a little bit in February. February was obviously a shorter month, so that's fine. And then March, they're back up to 695 as well. Bitcoin efficiency here for them was 107 in April of last year. It is now, well, March, it's 66. So you can see how that network hash rate has an impact on network efficiency for Bitcoin. So now they're at 66.19, and that's kind of in line with where they've been for the past couple months here on average. You can see they kind of average about 69 or so, 70 BTC per exahash right now. With what they mined here in March, we got 695. That generated them about 17.4 million in revenue. They sold 681. That gave them 17.1 million in revenue right now. And you can see here they've been selling for pretty much ever since June of last year. It looks like they started selling, and they've sold in total approximately, let's see, what did they sell? Approximately $98 million of revenue from Bitcoin in just, what is that? Well, almost 10 months, 10 months, something like that. So they've definitely gotten their money's worth out of that at that time. And looking at their numbers here for March, here's what we added into them. So we added in some of these 90 terahash miners here, about 780 of those. And then we also added some of these 140, the XPs, about 4,500 of those to get them up to the 10.5 exahash here. So they got above the 10 exahash limit or mark, I should say, which was great. And let's see here. What else can I show you? Oh, as far as mining, looks like they were mining for about 28 days on average, somewhere around there. Not sure when they got the miners installed, so I put those at 10. Some of them at 11 days, just to get to the numbers that I needed to get down on the bottom for revenue-wise. Otherwise, it looks like everything else was running for about 28 days. So a lot better than it was in February as well, at 26 days. Now, once these new miners get online, well, which they are online right now, but they actually start mining for longer period of time, that's going to help them as well, generating more Bitcoin, and their revenue should go up unless Bitcoin plummets here in this month. Okay, institution-wise, institutions did increase here to 334 from 331. Shares also increased a little bit here to 63 million from 62.87. Percentage owned increased as well to 37.74. And then we do have some more positive, I guess, analyst ratings on them. So we have now 3 strong buy ratings compared to 2 the month prior. 8 buy ratings compared to 9, so that's where kind of the switch came. 1 hold, and before we had 0 on that. So it looks like we got 2 more analysts rating them. Price targets pretty much stayed the same here at $12 for the high, $9.05 for the average, and the low is $5 right now on them. Based on all that information, we're using the data as always of the current quarter we're in, and then in the last 3 quarters, which obviously is now, I should probably update this one here. Since they reported already that number, we need to move that over to the actual amounts. And here's what we got. So with all the current 4 quarters, we're at 147 million in revenue, looks like. 50% net income, PE of 20. We're looking at $8.81. They are now at $9.15. So right there where I think they should be, right? And then the high would be $13.21. So based on this, they have been growing really well. They are producing a lot of Bitcoin. I think they can get up a little bit higher. But that's kind of where I'm seeing as the top of the mark here for at least Riot right now. Given that Bitcoin can go up, obviously, in price over the time, but hash rate is going to also increase over time. So yeah, I got to take all those things into consideration as well. And based on that, I think they could definitely go up much higher from this than the PE of 20. We've seen it with the miners before where they have gone up quite a bit more, especially when Bitcoin is in a bull run. We'll get the miners getting a PE of 35, 40, 45 sometimes on peaks. And then they come back down when we get into a bear market. But I do think there's a lot more room for them to go as it is. They are still growing this year, which is great to see. They are doing the right things. They got to fix the facility. But otherwise, great job by Riot. So that's it. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Okay, let me know what you guys think of all of these. There's a lot, like I said, so there's always going to be the chapters on the bottom for you guys to go through them. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all my Patreon members for all the continued support. And thank you so much for watching again. If you guys enjoyed the content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out. And I'll see you guys in the next one.